Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another edition of Science with Smith. We're going over the muscular system with Kessler's notes today in his PowerPoint. So, you notice this time there's a couple different things that are going to be different to you. And so you can actually type your answers in here and on your own, not here, but sorry, I clicked on that. So if you were quizzed today, which questions would you know the answers to already? And it's referring to these two questions, the essential questions. Number two, which questions would you need to learn more about in order to answer confidently? So just a little preview there. So as noted, both in the ad puzzle for today and in the notes here, the muscular system contains roughly around 640 different muscle groups. And the main functions are to allow for movement in the body, maintain posture. That means like being able to sit up or bend over or stand up straight or do side bends, but to move and hold that position. To stabilize your joints so that they don't snap in the wrong direction. And they also generate heat, which is why you shiver when you're cold. So here you're going to summarize the main functions of the muscular system in your own words, and you're going to type your answer there. And so we see here that the muscular system is a discrete organ, or each muscle is a discrete organ made of skeletal muscle, tissue, blood, vessels, tendons, and nerves. Now, there are three different categories of muscle. There's, besides skeletal muscle, there's also cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. Cardiac muscle is exclusive to the heart. The smooth muscle you're going to find in the digestive organs, like your stomach, your small intestine, your large intestine, and then also in your blood vessels. That's how your blood vessels can contract and squeeze and relax at different times, depending on what your brain's telling them to do. Muscles serve to move substances throughout the body and to move the body. So here's the place to answer, to think about it. How might our life be different if we lacked our muscular system? Do you think we would still be able to survive? Explain your reasoning. So you can come up with a lot of different answers there. Most people are going to say, well, probably not, because you couldn't move to eat, and you got to eat. And plus, if you didn't have your muscles, you wouldn't have a heart. So that kind of does that, right? So in terms of properties of the muscles, they're excitable or irritable. They're capable of receiving and responding to stimulation by nerves, which is shown in picture 8. They're contractible, meaning they're capable of shortening, which is visible in the image B. And then they are also extensible, which means they can be stretched without damage, and that's the key point. You can hyperextend them and do damage to them, but typically most of that is just extensible movement, and so they're stretched without damage. Another property visible here in D is elasticity. This is able to return to resting shape after being contracted or extended. Also, adaptability can change in response to how it's used, get bigger or smaller, depending on your exercise routines or lack thereof. So here we can see, read the definitions of involuntary and voluntary. In your own words, describe what you think, how you think this relates to the muscular system. Don't peek at the next slide. So involuntary is controlled by the unconscious part of your brain. That means you don't have to think about it to do it. If you want to reach over and grab a bottle of water, you have to think and say, oh, I'm going to grab that bottle of water. But you don't have to tell your heart to beat or your diaphragm to contract and relax, causing your thoracic cavity to flex and your lungs to expand or to expel air. And then voluntary means they are controlled by conscious. So you can move your fingers, etc. So in terms of muscle movements, again, voluntary is consciously controlled by a person. Involuntary is controlled by the unconscious part of the brain. Examples are heartbeat, and you also don't tell your guts to squeeze to make poop from the food you eat. which that's not the primary purpose. The primary purpose of the food is to get nutrients for your cells to be able to fix them. So here's another think about it. Think back about the movements you made the past 30 minutes. Which movements have been voluntary? Which movements have been involuntary? So you've probably at some point in time reached up and pressed the key either on your mouse or on your keyboard to cause these slides to advance. That was voluntary. But at the same time, you've obviously been breathing if you're still conscious. And so therefore, your lungs have been inhaling air due to the diaphragm, and your heart has been beating to supply your body with blood and get rid of some of the waste products and gas exchange. So, make a prediction. Identify each type of muscle as a voluntary or involuntary. Type your answers first, then slide the boxes over to check your answers. Don't peek. So, types of muscles. Cardiac, form the wall of the heart and controls your heartbeat. Smooth, also called visceral, are the weakest of all muscles. Tissues found in organs and perform unique functions like grinding, churning, or moving. Again, this has a lot to do with your guts. The skeletal muscle is what connects the muscle to the skeleton or the muscle to something else. In at least one place to move parts of the bone closer to each other, so to give you movement. So use the word bank to label the main structures of the muscular system, type the main function of the circulatory system. Why does that say circulatory system? I should say muscular system. So yeah, I'll have to fix that. So the location of the muscle is primarily what's used to give them their names. So, in other words, and not always. For example, delta or the deltoid, which is the shoulder muscle, is actually shaped like a triangle, and the Greek word delta is a triangle. So, in that case, it gets its name from its shape. But in other words, in this example, you've got the tibia, which is the tibialis anterior, which is the muscle. Tibia means near, and anterior means front. So the tibialis anterius is the muscle in the front of the leg and the shin. So this is where you're going to get shin splints if you're running a lot. Sometimes the name is given because of the size of the muscle. Maximus means largest. Gluteus maximus is the large butt muscle. Gluteus medius, medius, as you could guess, means medium size. So that is a medium size butt muscle. Direction of the muscle can also be used and basically you see the point here. The name of the muscle actually is derived from a characteristic of it. So it's the shape, the name, the location, or the direction that we've looked at thus far. So rectus means muscle fibers run parallel to the midline. So midline would be like straight down across your nose, down across your navel, and down through your hips. Straight down the middle. Transverse would be muscle fibers that run perpendicular to the midline, meaning they're going to go straight into it. So they're going to run from left to right. Rectus is going to run top to bottom or head to toe. Oblique muscles run diagonal to the midline. So these are going to be like making X's if they were to continue on. And that's also why we call them the obliques in your abdomen. When people are saying, "No, I'm working on my obliques," that's talking about that particular muscle group. So the number of origins of muscle also can show up in the name. Some examples here are bi. Bi means two. So biceps have two attachment points. Triceps, tri means three, so it's got three attachment points. And quadriceps, four. It's got four tendons of origin, four connection points. Whoops. So, and this is what I was alluding to earlier. The deltoid is a triangular shape. The trapezius has a trapezoid shape. The rhomboideus, is having a diamond shape, and the serratus is having a sawtooth shape. So, and you can look and see how all of those are applicable in the image there to your right. So, using the picture of the muscular system, excuse me, on the right, try to find the name of a muscle that describes the size of the muscle, a shape of the muscle, location of the muscle, and direction of the muscle. If you need to reference back to the previous slides for a little guidance, that's advisable. So think about it. The muscular system has three types of muscles. What type of muscle do you think is most important to the muscular system? And explain your answer. So you've got skeletal, cardiac, or smooth. Which one's more important? And why do you think that? So the muscular system there's an origin and insertion. An origin is attached to less or immovable bone, and an insertion is attached to a movable bone. We can't talk about the muscular system without talking about tendons and ligaments and tendons specifically here because that connects a muscle to a bone, and then the fascia, which surrounds muscle and connects muscle to muscle. So what holds the bones and muscles together? That would be a tendon. So this is showing movements. So you can see abduction. If an alien abducts you, that means they take you away. But soon they find out that maybe you're not as nice as they thought you were, and so they adduct you or return you. You also have lateral rotation, which is rotating to the side. You've got medial rotation, which is rotating back towards the middle of your body or back towards your center line, your belly button. You've got horizontal flexion and horizontal extension. And then you've got circumduction, which is to spin in a circle, and flexion and extension. So the muscular system, as almost every system, has to work with other systems to be able to function completely. In this particular example, we can see that the nervous system has to work with the muscles to tell them to move. If the nervous system, which is your brain and spinal cord, if those nerves and the nerves that are attached to it, if those nerves weren't telling your body what was going on and weren't telling your brain and spinal cord, you wouldn't do anything, I guess. And the skeletal system, obviously, because that's what muscles pull on to cause you to move. So if nerves are severed, they will not be able to produce muscle movement. So that's where we get paralysis of varying kinds. So once that nerve is severed, anything below that nerve or below that point is going to be immovable, or it's more than likely going to be paralyzed, and you're not going to have feeling anymore. So try to come up with 3 to 5 ways the skeletal system works with other systems in the body. Be prepared to share your answers. Think about the 3 types of muscle, and you can put your answers there. So here are some diseases of the muscular system that are present in the U.S. population and around the world. Muscular dystrophy, or MD, is a genetic disease that causes damage of muscle fiber, causing weakness, immobility, and imbalance. Cerebral palsy is a congenital disorder that affects the posture, balance, and motor functions. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a neurodegenerative disease that causes loss of control on voluntary muscles. There's also tendinitis, which is where tendons get inflamed or irritated, most common in wrists, elbows, shoulders, and heels, causing pain and swelling. Tennis elbow is a very popular example of this. Not popular as in people like it, but it's more common, and you've probably heard about it. So this or that. Let's see if you can crack the code. You will need to identify which structure is being described in each statement. So take a look at those and talk about what word it matches up with. What's the definition for? Check for understanding. Give your best answers to explain the main function of the muscular system and list 3 muscle types and the role they play in each system. or in the system, sorry. What essential questions do you still need help to understand? You can email those to me, post those below here, or reach out to one of us here at ECMS. That'll do it for today. We'll see you guys next time.